Hi, I'm Ann. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing the book acquiring tag. I was not tagged in this, but I thought it was a really cool tag, so I decided to do it. I originally saw it on Shelley Swearengin channel, and it was created by Enter the Book, so I will link both their channels down in the description. The main point of this tag is to look at how you acquire books and where you get them from and how you consume books, so I thought this would be interesting to do. Also, disclaimer before we get into this video, this will be my normal book buying habits and not this year. This year I am on a no book buying year, so I'm determined to lessen my physical TBR so that I can fit it all on one small shelf. And if I get it down to that by the end of the year, I can buy books. So right now I'm not actually buying books, but this is what my normal year would look like. So number one, do you plan your book purchases ahead or impulse buy? I almost exclusively impulse buy unless I specifically have a reason to get a book. For example, if I'm doing research on a specific topic, usually it's a historical period in time or for a specific author, whether it's for school. I'm recently graduated from college, so I guess that won't happen. Or if I'm doing it for a book, a fictional book I'm writing, if I'm doing research for that, then I will actually look specifically for books on that topic or by that author. However, for the most part, I do exclusively impulse buys. So I exclusively buy impulse buys, but not impulse as in, or I just see a book and I buy it and I don't know anything about it. Usually I go in with, okay, I want, to look at classics specifically, and I'll see a classic that I have been wanting and then I get that. So it's less of completely impulsive and more of, I know the types of books I will like and I want to own. So those I tend to purchase. Number two, how do you decide what books to buy? Oh, I guess I just answered that one. Yeah, it's more of, I know the types of books that I want to buy. So there are certain genres that I love to read, but I know I won't read multiple times. So those I exclusively get from the library. And those are usually, romance and cozy mysteries, because I know when it comes to cozy mysteries, they are almost all the same. So I don't want to get like 20 of very similar mystery books. I just don't tend to invest my money into that. Same thing with romance. They're all very similar. Why would I get a romance? They're all very similar. Saying that, there are quite a few books that I know that I would want to come back and reread or reference. And those include mostly classics or historical nonfiction, informative works that I might want to come back to, and also books that are harder to buy in general. So I have some classics that are not by as renowned authors or that are harder to buy copies of, and for those I want to invest in because they're not at my libraries and they're not easily accessible to me. So those are the books that I tend to buy. Number three, what is your philosophy on where you shop? Online versus in person, large versus small, physical, digital, or audio, new versus old? Ooh, well, I guess I already answered the last question, new versus used. I buy exclusively used books. However, when it comes to like physical, digital, or audio, I don't really buy any Kindle books. I can probably name off like on one hand how many Kindle books I've bought. I get free indie author Kindle books whenever I want, and I get a lot of Kindle books through Libby, the library app on my phone, but I don't invest or buy them. Same thing with audiobooks. I get them exclusively through Libby or LibriVox, which is a free online resource where people volunteer their time to record classic novels that are in the domain, books that are in the domain, not just novels. So yeah, I exclusively buy only physical books. As for large versus small, don't really care. I have some great paperback, tiny little books that I absolutely love. Then I have very big hardback books that I absolutely love. Online versus in person, I prefer to buy in person because I can actually physically hold the book, especially if you buy it used. You don't always know if there's going to be markings inside, and I have once in a while ordered books from like Thrift Books, and it has had writing inside, and I didn't necessarily know that. Either the description wasn't vivid enough, or I missed something, which is possible too. So I always prefer to like see it physically in person, especially since I do buy used. If I bought new, like from Barnes & Nobles or something like that, I wouldn't mind not seeing it. I have bought books sometimes from Book Outlet. I haven't bought any books from them for a year or two, probably since the height of COVID. But for the most part, I prefer shopping in person. Number 4, what about little free libraries? What do you think about them? Have you used one? Why or why not? I have not used one. I want to. I have an app on my phone that tells me the area, but I only knew about them at like near the end of last year, and I just never had a chance to go. And this year I don't want to like acquire new books, so I don't want to go to little free libraries. I'm also collecting books that I want to get rid of, and at the end of the year I think I'm going to like do a big unhaul of all the books that I want to get rid of this year, and then in the beginning of next year I'm just going to go to a bunch of free libraries and give off the books that I have that are in good condition. There's some books that aren't in the best condition, so I probably don't want to leave them in like free little libraries, but yeah, I do think they are a great thing. I think they're an exceptional project that communities can come together over. However, I have not used them yet. Number 5, how do you feel about acquiring a book? Do you share like in a book haul or diary? Yes, I do not keep a book diary. However, you can see on the shelf up there, all my physical TBR books go into that little jar, and I have names that I pick out each month. I pick 2 books out to read every single month from my physical TBR. I may read more than those, but those are like the ones that I have to read. So that's my diary version. As for haul, yes, I love doing hauls. I did a lot of hauls last year, and every time I acquire books, I usually wait till I have like a good stack of them, and then I do a book haul, because I think book hauls are really fun. They're a way to share books that you were really excited about acquiring and reading, and it also is a way for you to get opinions about a book before you necessarily spend your time reading it, because a lot of the books I buy are like $1 to $4. So if all my subscribers are like, yeah, this is an absolutely horrible book, yeah, I don't know why you bought it, I may rethink reading it. Number 6, how do you feel looking at your books that haven't been read? Does it matter if it's currently a lot or a little amount? I never used to mind like how many books I owned that I had read versus hadn't read, but obviously this year, or at the end of last year, I realized just how many books on my TBR I had, and how, because I have access to thrift books that have really cheap books, I have been acquiring a lot more. There's one bookstore in my area where all the books are $1 and they're all used books. So that has made it so much easier for me to just like walk out with like 10 to 15 books that I have to add to my physical TBR. So that's a lot of books to be adding like every couple months, and they're only $10 or $10 to $15. So why would I mind spending that much money? So whereas if I bought a new book, that would be just like one book. So I have been acquiring more in the last maybe 3 years than I have in the past. And because of that, I decided to do this challenge this year where I don't buy any new books until I get my physical TBR below a certain amount, and then I can go shopping more. But I do want to be more aware of what books I'm buying, and if I truly want to own these books, or if maybe I can just get them from the library. So why should I spend that money and space on my shelves when I could just be reading it from the library? Number 7, how do you decide what number of unread books is the right amount? I mean, I don't think there's like an exact number. I'm not sure how you would quantify that number, because I think for different people, it could be a different amount. For some people that read maybe only 5 books a year, having a big library with completely unread books might be overwhelming to them. So that's probably not a good option. But I think it all depends on I think Michael Cavon put this best in one of his recent videos. He was talking about the difference between reading books and collecting books. And I think that's where the unread books come into it because there are a lot of books that I see that I love the copies of, and I want to collect them for the sake of collecting them. So I don't necessarily say, oh, I need to read this right now, or I need to read this in the next like 2 to 3 years. I say this is something that I want to own in my collection of books, not necessarily I want to read it immediately. So I think you also have to like look at that, because if you want to read all your books immediately after buying them, then having a lot of unread books is probably not a good thing. Whereas if you are collecting books and finding unique copies and you're collecting for the sake of collecting, that's a little bit different than just simply having unread books that you want to read. So I don't know. I don't think there's a right number for that. Number 8, do you have a TBR game or process for reading them? No, I don't have a game, but I do have that jar up there that I pick 2 books out of every single month, and that's been working. I started that challenge at the beginning of the last year, and I've continued on to this year. I had several other challenges that I did last year, and I didn't like them quite as much, whereas this one I absolutely loved. So that's why I continued it on into this year. So I've been really enjoying just having 2 books that I have to read that month, which isn't bad because usually I am a mood reader. So I don't do big TBRs usually. Number 9, do you have a book buying problem? If so, what is the nature of it? And can it be adjusted? Obviously, I am adjusting it this year. No, I don't think I have a book buying problem. I only think it's a problem if either you don't have enough space for the books and you're physically still buying books even though you know you don't have space for them, or if you are going financially above your means. And I don't do either of that. I have more room. I could start stacking books, but I don't want to. So I think it's knowing what you want personally and what you need, like looking at your budget, looking at your space you have in your house. Also, if you live with people like husband, wife, children, you have to talk to them. And, you know, if your book buying habits are harming them, then maybe you should also reevaluate things. But I love number 11, which is know you are awesome just as you are. Being a book lover is amazing, and I completely agree. So I'm not going to tag anyone in this video. I should really start tagging people, but I never think ahead, and then I'm like, wait, I know I've watched some of fellow booktubers doing this tag, so I don't want to like tag them. But then, like, what if I don't remember correctly? So anyway, I just won't tag anybody because I'm lazy. So especially since I wasn't tagged to begin with, I'm just doing this because I want to do it. But what are your book buying habits? What are some of your opinions about buying books and collecting books? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. I post every Saturday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern time, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a great week. Bye.